Hello and welcome to Kids of Stuff, a Chucky Podcast, a HauntedMTL original podcast. We're back again this week. We've been doing this week after week with each episode of the show. We have a returning guest this week. Say hello, Phil.
Hello, Phil.
Yep, that's Phil. Phil Gibson is back. We are going to be talking Chucky Season 1, Episode 6, Cape Queer. I'm really excited to talk about this one. This might be my favorite episode of the season. What did you think of the episode overall?
Yeah, it was really good. I'm only just now getting the Cape Queer reference.
No, it's very interesting. We'll get to that when we get to it. But before we begin, you're a returning guest. So obviously you did well enough the first time. So anything new you want to bring up before we kind of like dive in?
No, not really. I'm still trying to get my my pitch Bibles all put together and everything. I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on them, but that's just the way life is these days, I suppose.
Well, I am really excited to see them because I've seen like bits and pieces of different ideas you've had, and the one about the guy on the junk planet.
Yeah,
that one looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that out of the like 3. Because when I first set it up, it was like, hey, which one of these 3 do you guys want to see? And that was the one that was the most voted on, which is fine with me because it's like the newest one and also the one I've done the least amount of work on.
Well, I mean, that's going to be fun too because it's like pretty much wide open for you right now.
Yeah. So I'm real excited to get into it. It's just, trying to get the headspace and time where I can sit down and really put some effort into it.
Well, I mean, definitely, like, you're going to be posting the stuff as you do it, so I'm really excited to kind of keep up with that.
Yeah.
This is my second podcast of the day, actually, so that's fun. We just recorded a special episode of Supernatural Selection. We're doing, like, some Patreon exclusive stuff now, which is a lot of fun. I've got a whole series of things we're going to be doing for that, so I'm pretty much, like, on Supernatural Selection full time now.
Oh wow!
Which is, it's fun. It's definitely like its own thing. I was like, I'm gonna take a break after I did that like 3-part series on the Falcon Monster, but nope, not happening.
Sounds like I really should check that out sometime. Maybe.
I think you would enjoy it. Our latest episode is the history of assholes from beyond, which is just like aliens on Earth.
Oh man, I know a lot about assholes.
Yeah, I bet you do. No, but it's definitely a fun episode. It's actually interesting because it's 3 of you always have Kevin there. He's the main host of the show. I'm the most frequent co-host, and then Mike's the second most frequent co-host. So it's the 3 of us just kind of talking about this history of like aliens on Earth and all that stuff. So it's good. It's a lot of fun. And I'll just kind of like plug that again at the end, I think. But let's go ahead and let's talk Cape Queer. So you brought up the fact that like you get the reference. So why don't you explain the reference to everybody?
Well, basically all of your smarter listeners, which is, well, everybody, they will understand the reference that is when they're watching the movie Cape Fear later in the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Devin specifically is watching, and he's watching the Scorsese version, because there was a version in like the late 1970s, early 1980s, and then Scorsese did his version in like 1990 something.
Yeah, and that's the one I'm most familiar with, mostly because I really like the episode of The Simpsons that it. And
yeah,
it's like I knew about that episode of The Simpsons before I even knew what they were riffing on. Mm-hmm. So, and eventually I found out, they based basically this whole episode on this one movie. So,
and it's like a classic kind of a trope now at this point. But like at the time it came out, I assume it was revolutionary for a lot of people. Like I was too young to see it, even though like I was apparently old enough to watch Chucky. I just never saw Cape Fear when I was that young. I've seen it since then, and it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. If you have not seen it, I definitely recommend it because it's a very good movie.
And Devin's absolutely right. Robert De Niro is absolutely shredded in that movie.
Oh, my word.
My stars and garters.
Yes.
So, this would be episode 6 of season 1. We've got 2 episodes left. This one was directed by Samir Rahem, who he did a fantastic job on this. But I also want to talk about the writers Nick Ziegler and Sarah Acosta, who wrote a very complex episode, actually. When you think about all the stuff that is going on simultaneously, it's a tough act to juggle, and I think they kind of nailed it.
Yeah, for real. This whole the whole series up until this point has been kind of, I guess, lighthearted as lighthearted as you can get.
Yeah.
from anything involving Chucky. But about halfway through the episode, they do a really good turn on the whole thing, and I can't wait to see the other episodes to see if they're going to continue with that tone for the rest of the series.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point there, because if we treat this season as like a single Chucky film, like an 8-hour Chucky film, we're now clearly in the 3rd act. That's when Chucky is going public with everything. That's where like the body count starts to pile up even more. So this is definitely kind of like we're entering that final act of the overarching story of this first season.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, there were only 2 deaths in this episode, but both of them packed just the biggest emotional punch that I honestly didn't expect.
Yeah, these are major deaths, and we're the spoiler podcast here, because if you want to get like the spoiler free take on the episode, you listen to or you go ahead and read my reviews. But yeah, as far as the deaths go, we lose 2 major characters here, and you think about them, they're not necessarily like major characters in a sense, but for our protagonists, they absolutely are major characters.
Yeah.
And that would be Bree, Junior's mother, Jake's aunt, and then Detective Evans, who is Devin's mother. And those were some very powerful deaths. So let's talk about Bree's death, because between the 2 deaths, I think that one is probably going to have the most impact on the story, pun not intended, but so what did you make of Bree's death?
Honestly, I thought, like, you see it kind of coming, because they kind of build it up in the minutes before it actually happens.
Yeah, you've got all those like dramatic flags of like, okay, so she's leaving her son with some words. She takes that last look at him after she leaves the car.
Yeah, but and also like in the scene where it happens, like, you know, Chucky's there and he starts pushing the thing, and at first I thought this isn't going to really work, because it's just like a mail cart, and there's no way that thing can go fast enough and have enough weight to push her through a pane of glass. But
yeah, especially because you think glass like that would be reinforced. But then again, this show is camp, so within the world of Chucky, you're like, okay, I could see this happening.
Yeah, because like after it happens, you're like, well, okay, sure, let's go with it. It's like,
we're going with it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to buy it after it happens, which is odd, but yeah, that point is when kind of the tone of the entire series turned for me, because all the victims haven't been really.
They're all been periphery characters.
Yeah, they haven't played much of a part in the series, except for the dad at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But also, like, he's not around long enough for the character to know or get attached to. You know, he shows up and he's an asshole, so you don't really care when he dies.
Yeah, and you know, for all we've seen of Bree, you know, there was always that suspicion about like what was going on with her, and she's like an entirely sympathetic well, I don't want to say protagonist, but like sympathetic character at this point.
Yeah, sympathetic secondary character, and we finally find out what the secret was that she was hiding, which
Yeah,
is
in
that she's
episode
got
5.
yeah, the stage 5 cancer, or not stage 5. That's like
I think it was 4.
yeah, it's stage 4. I don't think there's a stage 5.
Yeah, I'm
But
not sure about that. I'm not an
yeah,
expert in cancer, um, but no, it's definitely like, and it's definitely like a motivating moment for Junior, because we get a lot of signs that like Junior's path is going to go much darker.
yeah, and again, because when she goes to see her therapist right before she dies, she
Mhm.
says, "I'm going to live for my family. I'm going to stop doing the chemo. I'm going to stop doing all that and just enjoy the time that I have left."
Mhm.
And then she dies, and it appears as to be a suicide. So then you have Junior and his dad left, and they're kind of I don't want to say they hate her,
Yeah,
but
they're definitely they've got some very strong emotions. They're very confused and everything like that. And
yeah,
honestly, this is probably one of like the worst things that Chucky's ever done, because he's done some terrible stuff. But to kind of rob the Wheelers of that kind of like peaceful departure and everything like that is just it's just very 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 sinister on his part. You know, you get the impression that he knows what he's doing. He's not just killing her randomly.
yeah, and I perhaps maybe he wouldn't have planned that it would have this effect on, like they would think, oh, it's just her being selfish and killing herself so that she doesn't have to worry about anything anymore.
Mhm.
I feel like that maybe that's just kind of an unintended side effect. Like Chucky is looking to kill her in order to hurt them, but I think
Mhm.
it ends up hurting them way more than he intended it to. But also like
Yeah,
he's
but you
he's
also know that,
fine with that.
yeah. Well, and Chucky's always been like an opportunist,
Yeah.
so it's just it worked out for him very well. Um, So let's talk about Detective Evans's death. So again, it's another super important death in the show. Um, like I have mixed feelings on Detective Evans. Like as beautiful and nice as she is to her son Devin, she's not a very good cop.
Yeah. And also she's kind of mean to everyone else. I mean,
Hmm.
she kind of has a reason to,
Hmm.
because even in this series where weird stuff happens, it's not like weird stuff happening is normal. So like if you go to the police and say, "I didn't kill this guy, this walking talking doll did it," you're going to get
Hmm.
locked up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about like just before she died, she had arrested Miss Fairchild, which I think they're setting Miss Fairchild up to be related to this situation. Maybe we'll see about that. But then again, it's also like to arrest her in the middle of the class.
Yeah, that seems kind of like a weird choice to me, because
Yeah,
unless the teacher was like in endangering the kids, like in
yeah.
some
If
sort of
if the
way.
threat was like imminent, I can understand that. But it seemed like an unnecessary show of authority that just it rubbed me the wrong way. We found out that like yes, you can question a minor in New Jersey without an adult present. That's part of New Jersey. Like that's part of the state law. But like something like that, again, it's like nothing she's doing is illegal. But what she's doing is she's doing it in the worst way possible, I find.
Yeah. And it's like
And the
this whole time you're thinking, "Oh, her assistant is the one who's going to be doing everything wrong," and we
mhm.
haven't even really seen him since the first episode.
Well, and then he dies in like episode 4, or episode 4 or 5, yeah. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah, that's right. Ah,
yeah, he was the one who was bleeding out under his fingernails, which is like the most ridiculous shit, and I love it.
That's, oh man, jeez. Okay.
Well, he deserved to die. He was taking food from a little sick girl, so
Yeah.
yeah, what an asshole. But so as far as Detective Evans's death, it's not as showy, but it's very dramatic because like she is in that moment attacked by Chucky, who pops out of the fucking vent like Among Us character. And he just starts like biting into her face and then like essentially causes her to fall down the stairs and snap her neck.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
that was just kind of that was like the second punch of the 1-2 punch of this episode, because when he shows up, you kind of expect this to be like kind of the turn, like, okay, well, the detective now knows that Chucky is an actual thing, and so now they're all trying to take care of it. But no, she just falls down the stairs and dies, and that's like, whoa, dang, what's gonna happen now?
Yeah, it's gonna leave a lot of things going on. And, you know, she's not a Detective Mike Norris, you know what I mean? So she's not gonna wrap things up. What I found interesting is, I guess, an earlier title for the episode was Mother's Day, which would have given way too much away. But like thinking about it, yeah, it's about kind of bumping off those motherly figures in a very dramatic way.
Yeah, and probably a bit of foreshadowing when Chucky killed the maid in episode 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could definitely see that as like part of that pattern. Now, speaking of other motherly figures in the episode, we also have Tiffany.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's going on with Tiffany and Nika and Chucky.
Okay, yeah, that was... Whew.
Yeah, it's problematic, but it's also really fun to watch.
Yeah. When they were doing like all the flashback stuff from earlier, it felt kind of weird to me how whenever they would go back to it in this episode, it felt like that sort of stuff was happening in the past also. But then when they finally bring Nika in, and you think about it in relation to Cult and Curse of Chucky, it's like, oh, for maybe it was just me not paying too close attention to the progress of how stuff was happening, but when they were bringing in all the different people into their hotel room, it felt like it wasn't happening concurrently with the rest of the events that we're seeing play out in the episode, to me.
Right, yeah. So these are definitely flashbacks to it, just kind of establish little, and these flashbacks are definitely like fan service, like why does Tiffany have that red Pontiac? You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so Charles and Tiffany like killed a guy who was going to sell it to him.
Yeah.
And then you get that little scene of him in the car in the passenger seat reading his voodoo book. It's like not necessary, but it's just a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. I almost wonder. I didn't check the credits when the episode was done, but I wonder who played Charles in those scenes.
Oh, it's Fiona Dorff again, because she was playing Charles in the 5th episode.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, because you could tell he was dubbed over.
Yeah, and the prosthetic it's good, but like once you kind of understand that it's a prosthetic, you can kind of see through it.
Yeah.
But like still very, very impressive, and I just love the whole queering of just like having a male character played by a woman. It's super interesting. You don't really get that in a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, especially with like people who are playing like legacy characters, like
or they're in the same frickin' family. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and it really kind of strikes me, especially when I was watching Cult of Chucky, just how very similar she looks to him.
Yeah. And it's something that you can only have in like the Chucky franchise, I think, where like you can have the daughter play the father and like it doesn't strike you as odd, it just strikes you as cool.
Yeah. And like it also helps, like, you put the shades on her and the long hair, you can pass her off pretty well.
Well, and then I appreciate like that scene in this episode was done entirely in the daylight, which was like that was like a bold choice because usually because in the club, or even in the hotel room in the past where they reveal who Tiffany actually is, it's still kind of shot kind of dark.
Yeah.
But in here it's like in the daylight, and it's like they were really confident in what they were doing, and they should be confident because it's very impressive.
Yeah. It's good because there was like for the first half of that scene, I was like, that's just him with younger makeup, like with his skin taped down or something, or some kind of digital de-aging, which maybe seems a bit over the top for this, but yeah, it looks really good.
And then, of course, if we're talking about like Charles and Tiffany in the modern day, we open with we get back to their plot line with Tiffany trying to dispose of the bodies that they had generated by trying to shove the entire body into a suitcase.
Yeah.
And it's a very good bit of like dark, bleak comedy.
Yeah.
But something important happens because when they get in a fight, Tiffany like takes a cleaver and cuts the arm of the corpse that is in the suitcase, and that blood splashes over Chucky, who's in Nika's body, and we see that Nika is now back in control. And I wanted to get your thought about like what's going on here, because I have my theories, but I want to hear what you think.
I'm not 100% sure what to think about that one. I want to say it feels like to me like maybe whatever spell or whatever he's using to take over her body with is maybe something that he doesn't fully understand or fully have control of, which is why he's fading in and out. But also it could be something like Charles has shattered his soul too many times and is probably not fading away, but just doesn't really have the control that he needs to be able to control these sorts of things anymore.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's something along the lines where like the soul can only be stretched so far and into so many pieces. And what the thing I'm most curious about is if this is going to be like permanent, like damage to his soul.
Well, I would think so, and I don't want to get too ahead of you, but we kind of see part of that at the very beginning of the episode.
Oh yeah, please go ahead and let's go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, when names are escaping me at the
Andy and Kyle.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Andy and Kyle. When they make their grand entrance into the series in here as people who are hunting down the different shards of Chucky who are hiding as the good guy dolls, and that kind of sets up like, well, we don't know how many dolls there actually are, because we saw the few from Cult of Chucky, yeah. And then we have the scene that shows him keeping Chucky's head alive in his apartment, but yeah, they've it would seem like that they've been doing this for quite a while. So that must mean there are probably dozens of Chuckies running around, wouldn't you think?
See, that's the thing. We just aren't sure. Based on the timeline, it seems to be about 2 weeks after Cult of Chucky, because we get that little thing when they're Google stalking Andy, trying to find him. They pull up that article about Harrogate and how a violent prisoner gets out. It's like 2 weeks ago. So as far as how many Chuckies there are, at the start of the series, I think there were at least 5. 4 or 5 of them, but I'm just not sure now. That's part of the thing, is they have to keep some of this information hidden, but I don't doubt there could be more of them floating around.
Yeah,
because Tiffany gets that package when she buys the house.
Yeah, and obviously that's another Chucky doll, but I don't remember if it was earlier, if it was something that I discussed with you or something that I found somewhere else, but uh, it was pointed out to me at some point that we may have a lot of these Chuckies based on the opening to Child's Play 3.
Mm.
Because the machine picks up the Chucky that's left over at the end of Child's Play 2, and a lot of his blood is just soaked into the vat of plastic when they turn it back on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it's going to be really interesting to see if that goes anywhere.
yeah, but yeah, I don't. We don't know for sure how that kind of fits in with what's going on, or if it doesn't even matter at all, and it's just, oh, the parts of his soul are only in dolls where he put them, sort
You
of.
know, and the sky's the limit with this series, because, like, they could conceivably go, like, any direction. Like, I think we're going to get, in the last episode or two, we're going to get, like, the reveal of, like, multiple Chucky dolls.
Yeah, definitely. And that's... I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and, you know, it's something that Don Mancini's wanted to do since Child's Play 2.
Yeah.
He's had that thought in mind, and now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that section of Cult of Chucky where you had the, like, 3 or 4 Chucky dolls just running around, each with their own, like, specific personalities, but still all kind of like Charles, you know?
Yeah, and just hearing Brad Dourif just kind of like talk to himself. it's it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, his voice acting in this series particularly is just mwah. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying it. But yeah, like that opening with Andy and Kyle, just kind of like on their mission from God, killing Chucky dolls. It's so over the top, so dumb, and I love it so much. Him just like unloading that gun and shooting the doll out of her arms. And then just Chucky bleeding out on the floor. Fuck you, Andy! They're just unloading on him.
Yeah, and the family is just kind of stunned looking at what's going on, and
you know, and that's the question. Like, when the medical examiners come to the crime scene, do they ever like notice that the dolls are filled with meat?
I wonder if that's something that they'll go into.
Yeah, because the longer that Chucky like stays in a body, it starts to take. You know, that just raises a whole bunch of questions, though. Like, can you suffocate Chucky if he's been in a body long enough?
Yeah, I wonder. Well, I don't know, because, you know, at the beginning of 2, when they recovered his body and remade the doll, you know, he was still alive, so
It's you know, it's just, all I know is that he's full of meat. Which has got to be a weird thing to see. It's like, okay, who stuffed the roast beef in this toy? But you know, this episode's pretty great because it's tying up like three different storylines together.
Yeah,
it's the 3 different generations coming together at this point, because you have the original trilogy with Andy and Kyle, you have the Curse and Cult. I'm sorry. You have the Bride through Cult series with Tiffany and Nika, and then you have like the New Guard, which it's very fun how they're bringing all this together.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be real interesting to see how it ends up, and how many more callbacks and stuff they're going to make to it. Like, I wonder if Glenn or Glenda is going to show up.
That's what I'm hoping, and that's kind of what I guess, like, the theory's going around that Miss Fairchild might be Glenn or Glenda.
Yeah.
It depends on, like, what the situation is here, but they talk about how she apparently had, like, a troubled past, you know, she's got the red hair. We don't know. They could totally make that work, and I'd buy it. I kind of hope they don't, because it also kind of seems easy, but, like, I'm not going to complain if she ends up being one of the kids.
Yeah.
But, and there's all these little, like, nice little nods to the continuity. Like, did you notice that Andy's walk was a little odd?
No, I didn't.
Because his walk, he would be still, like, recovering from when he got stabbed in the leg.
Oh, that's right.
And, yeah, because he gets kind of fucked up in Cult of Chucky, and, so he's got a little bit of a limp. And at first I'm like, does he have a limp in real life? But no, then I was thinking about it. Oh, no, that would totally be him limping from that leg injury.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, the realtor is the same woman who got her tongue sliced open by that razor apple in episode 2.
Yeah, I got that one. That was pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, it's just, there's all these, like, little fun continuity. You get the sense that, like, these are people who, like, really care about what they're doing. And it sounds weird to say that, but I've watched a fair number of horror productions where it's just like, they're just there to make a paycheck.
Yeah.
This feels different. Like that poker scene between Tiffany and Nika, where Nika's trying to bluff her way and pretend that she's Chucky when she's Nika. You know that Jennifer Tilly's a professional poker player, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she's actually like a world-class poker player. So wow. That's a fun little reference that they throw in there. She actually has, like, full poker stats that you can look up.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's just all these little things that they throw in here. Like, Jennifer Tilly, like, had retired from acting, but I guess she came back for this just because she loves being Tiffany so much.
Man, I don't blame her. I mean, that, to me, that's just kind of like her signature role.
Yeah, and she's just a joy to see on screen whenever she shows up. She's just, like, so funny, so ridiculous, so campy. And then also really scary, too, because that whole scene where she's talking to Nika, and she's like, when I'm with Chucky, I see your eyes coming through. And it's just like, ooh, red flags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just, very problematic.
Yeah, and that also sets up, like, you have this rift that's starting to happen between her and Chucky, so...
Yeah, because they always fight, but, like, this seems a little more serious.
Yeah, because she fully intends on keeping Nika around instead of Chucky, so that's gonna be interesting to see how that works out as well.
Oh, and then, of course, so we've covered, like, the older characters, the legacy characters, but I also want to talk about the kids, because I absolutely love this new generation of characters, and I gotta tell you, like, seeing kind of, like, Jake and Devin kind of, like, make their move on each other, like, to date is just, like, the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
It's just so cute.
Yeah, I hope that is sort of a thing that survives this season.
Yeah, see, I don't know if... Because Don Mancini can be cruel. Like, he could be cruel with his characters. But I think to kill off this Jake and Devin thing in the first season, it would rub people the wrong way quite a bit, and I think it would just be almost too mean.
Yeah. I do like the kind of, I guess, the humanization of Lexi that's been going on.
Yeah, and I've been saying from, like, episode 1 that Lexi's gonna get her redemption. It's not gonna be like she's gonna be, like, on the side of the angels suddenly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she's becoming a more rounded person, and there's gonna be definite growth there, and I think we see that tonight because, she doesn't kill Jake. Because Chucky's goading her into doing that.
Yeah. And I don't think that even if Chucky wasn't there that she'd want to do it, because she's very mean and kind of needling when she doesn't like somebody, but I don't see her killing anybody.
Yeah, and her meanness stems from trauma that she has as well. So she wouldn't be the type to go as far as kill someone. I can't say that for Jake necessarily, because I think Jake definitely had it in him to kill somebody. but he ultimately chose not to.
Yeah. And that was another thing, too. Like, it seemed a little bit too easy to talk Jake into it.
Well, yeah. Like, you have to have that temptation to hinge the episodes around.
Right. I understand. And it just seemed a little weird to me that he was a little bit too eager to go for it. So that might be foreshadowing for later on, perhaps. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you're glad that he didn't, because once you hit that point where a character kills somebody, there's not really any way to redeem them after that.
Yeah. And I still think that, like, Jake has that propensity for violence in him. I don't know if it would have come so easy for him. I think that he was dealing with a lot, especially given, like, if you look into, like, serial killers and that sort of thing, like, head trauma tends to be a major component of that kind of action, and it's clear that Jake got smacked around quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then bullying is unfortunately one thing that can kind of contribute to that behavior. So I'm with you there on that. Like, it might have been, like, too easy, but I think it's just believable enough to where it's like, I could see it happening.
Yeah, and like, there's enough, like, people getting killed in this series that maybe it's a little bit more of a normalized thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's kind of just, like, really my one criticism about it, is that it didn't take too much to push him in that direction. And
yeah, I mean, and that's entirely fair. I mean, we are dealing with, like, a TV show, so there's, like, a certain heightened reality to it. But no, I'm with you there. I understand what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of stuff that's kind of coming into play here, because number one, we still haven't, like, seen why Devin was recording Jake.
Right. Yeah.
And like, if that's going to cause a rift, because one thing that could definitely cause a rift is the fact that Devin's mom died. And technically, Jake is at fault to a degree.
Yeah. And yeah, you kind of got that with Lexi, how mad she was that, oh, you sent Chucky over here to kill me. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, so, like, I'm curious to see, like, because don't kill Devin off. Definitely, like, that would be just too cruel. But
yeah,
like, put some tension in the relationship by dealing with these factors. Like, because number one, I don't care what the situation is. You should not record someone without consent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Now, let's talk about Junior's path, because what do you think is going to be happening with Junior?
Man, that's kind of a tough call for me at the moment. Now, he seems to be being pushed closer and closer to the edge himself. But also at the same time, I don't want to see him, try to kill anybody, or kind of have the same reaction that Lexi did when she realized what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Junior is becoming so isolated, the tragedy that's going on, and then I think the implication is that Tiffany was going to the funeral when she left Nika at the house, because you learn later that Logan and Junior are at the funeral for Bree, and I feel like there's going to be something there with Tiffany up to something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, as far as Junior is concerned, it's like, I can't even imagine being in that situation, like seeing your girlfriend hang out with the one dude that she doesn't really like, that you both really like, and
then after the psychologist leaves, or the psychiatrist leaves, his cousin comes up to him and says, "I don't think your mom really killed herself." It's like, dude, fuck off, not right now.
Yeah. So
yeah,
man,
I think Chucky, like, is going to go ahead and turn his sights to Junior. I don't know how successful he's going to be. But, you know, it takes like one bad moment to kind of turn Junior into a killer, and maybe even like an accidental thing.
And Junior's been through quite a bit more turmoil than Jake has. So
well, you know, I don't know if we can like compare people's traumas. You know what I mean? Because Jake's father was murdered. He was physically abused. While Junior, his mother apparently committed suicide, and he has that kind of like psychological abuse, but it gets a little iffy when you start kind of comparing those traumas, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to like one-to-one compare them, but I mean,
okay,
more like from Junior's point of view, because he's been sheltered and popular and his life was pretty good until Jake showed up, and then all this weird stuff is happening. The maid that raised him died, and then his mom killed herself, etc., etc. And
he hears Jake talking to himself. At one point, Jake kind of like confronts him in the woods, like he's stalking him. So like definitely, I see where you're going there, especially when you think about it from like Junior's perspective.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll just see how it all shakes out, but I think that Junior is going to become way more of an active participant in the series for these next 2 episodes.
Yeah, because like I've liked all the scenes with Tio, the actor Tio Brown as Junior, and there's been some really good acting, but again, there isn't. He's been more of like a passenger for most of the season, and it seems like it's about time for him to be kind of put into like one of the lead positions for how the story plays out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we've got 2 episodes left of this season, and I think they're going to be insane. I think I saw a thing saying that like the final episode's going to be like 90 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I got like 2 questions for you. Number 1, do you think the show's going to get a season 2?
I would really like to see a second season. It's really hard for me to say, I want to see a second. I mean, I do want to see a second season, but depending upon how this ends, it may be more difficult to pull off a second season.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like, we don't know how the events are going to turn out, but based on the fact that like the show has been trending week after week, like it's been huge. I'm very like, as someone who always kind of like, I've always been a big fan of the Chucky movies, but it's always been kind of like the little brother to like the Child's Play, or to the Nightmare on Elm Street, the Friday the 13th, the Halloween series, right?
Yeah.
It's always kind of been this little redheaded brother. But like it's very like heartwarming to me in a weird way to see how popular the show has been week after week.
Yeah, and Chucky was always kind of, like you said, Chucky is kind of an iconic killer, but hasn't really ever been the most popular. Like, he's at 4th place at best, based on the other ones that we have, like Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers.
Well, and this year we had like a new Halloween film, but I feel like Chucky has gotten way more buzz than Halloween Kills. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't really. One's a movie, one's a TV show, but it just seems like Chucky seems to be the hot thing right now.
Yeah, and it kind of has that advantage in that it's bringing something new every week and not just everything in one package at one time.
Yeah,
I think that helps, but also like the pop culture cachet that Chucky has had ever since the first movie came out.
Yeah, and it's also like a series that's been able to evolve, and it's created like a new generation of characters that people can like stick with as well, because like I talked about it like last week with my last guest, but like I really like Jake as a character. He could be morally questionable, but he's a very compelling character to me.
Yeah, And a whole lot of horror series don't really have that core human cast that.
Yeah, because you end up like getting a new group of teenagers at Camp Crystal Lake in the next movie.
Yeah, I mean, you have I think like Halloween is the closest one you have, but even then, it's just Jamie Lee Curtis.
And it depends on the timeline. And then like
Yeah.
for Friday the 13th, you have Tommy Jarvis, but like they're so inconsistent with Tommy Jarvis. You know, so it's number one, it's super interesting that we have like a cast full of Final Boys, but also like these characters stick around. Like I can't tell you like how much it like meant to me to see Andy again. You know, obviously extremely traumatized, extremely like emotionally stunted from all of this, but like kind of putting that into his little mission.
Is there like any horror series where the protagonist of the first one is still around?
Mm-hmm. It definitely makes it unique among all the slasher franchises, and you know, I'm that's why I feel like the odds for a renewal are pretty strong. Also, there was like a potential like Instagram thing where Zachary was saying something about season 2. Like I don't know if it's wishful thinking or not, but considering there's always another Chucky doll out there, you could easily have like Chucky kind of like start over at some point as well.
Yeah. And if they do go through a second season, if like this first season is like the penultimate of Chucky, if like he's finally defeated at the end of this, I think it would be really interesting to maybe bring in kind of like a new slasher in the form of a good guy doll. Maybe?
That would be interesting, especially like, yeah, I think we have to look out for is see if Chucky teaches anyone else voodoo.
Yeah, see that. Okay, that was another thing that I had missed from like the 5th episode where he replaced what was the other good
Tommy.
guy doll's? Tommy, yeah, where he replaced Tommy.
Another Tommy gets destroyed.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
I wonder why he didn't just take over the girl's body, but maybe.
Well, they kind of set that up in Cult of Chucky, because in Curse, he ended up taking over the body of Nika's niece. And then in Cult, they talk about how Alice died.
That's right.
Yeah, so like you can only get so many kills with the body of like a 10-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl, apparently.
Yeah, I guess, but well, if we continue to go down that route, I think, and this is just me just kind of coming up with this on the spot, I think it would be pretty neat for Junior to become Chucky's protege, and he learns the voodoo stuff, but gets stuck inside of a good guy doll, and maybe he's the bad guy for the next season?
Like, I could totally get behind that. You know, and the thing about, like, the franchise is, like, I was thinking about how I would do a Chucky story, and I just had this idea of, like, Chucky splitting his soul off in a bunch of dolls and just shipping them to random people. And I had this, like, whole story in my mind about a Chucky who ends up in, like, Tempe, Arizona, or something like that, some sort of, like, weird desert community in, like, a thrift store, and just, like, what does he do to this weird desert hipster community?
Oh, you know what? That sort of thing would actually be a good idea for a second season or even a second series. Like
like an anthology series where you just have all these different Chuckies in these different scenarios. And like here's the question: because like if we consider each of these Chuckies as like their own entity, I mean they're all part of the soul of Charles Lee Ray. Like, could a Chucky develop into a more rounded, maybe better person? That's another one of those questions that I have, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we're ever going to get that explored, but I like that that's like a weird possibility in all of this.
Yeah, but I think that would also be like an interesting way to kind of put a twist into the series. Like,
yeah, like what if Chucky is recognizing that there's another serial killer out there and it's him trying to kill this serial killer? It's like, get out of my territory sort of thing.
Yeah, or also like, one of the parts, one of the Chucky dolls may be coming to the realization that he doesn't need to be doing this, and maybe starts going after other Chucky dolls.
Yeah, I mean, there's all this potential. Like, so, like, I can see them doing like multiple seasons of this easily. It's up to like Don Mancini and obviously like SyFy / USA, if they're gonna let him do multiple seasons. But like, I feel optimistic about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think that we would get at least one more season, just based on how well that it's how well the first one is doing, and just how good it is.
Yeah, like I'm very pleased by just how consistent the television show has been so far. You know, Chucky did have a couple movies that were pretty rough. You know, not gonna lie. But like, there was just something about the character that kept it going, and like to kind of finally have the freedom that for Don Mancini to have the freedom that he has right now to make this show and do what he wants. Like the fact that, like, you know, Chucky says fuck a lot. Like, you don't think that's super important, but it's kind of important to the character because he's kind of like a crass little shit.
Yeah.
Like, his character, it hasn't been like modified at all to work on television. You know what I mean? This is just like if you were writing a Chucky film, except now you're doing it across 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been as much gore as there usually is in the movies, but whenever we do have it, it's pretty good. So
I do think the gore is going to pick up quite a bit because, yeah, we are in that kind of like last third of the movie, as it were.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get some, especially if they do end up going the multiple Chucky route by the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we have like 2 or 3 like really good fucked up Chucky deaths. You know what I mean?
Oh man, you said the multiple Chucky thing, and for whatever reason, I just thought of the you know, the scene from the first Gremlins movie where it's like this still shot of the street, and then just all these gremlins come out of the shadow. I just pictured that, but with like just an army of Chucky dolls, and that was
Could you imagine like the chaos of like 10 to 15 Chucky dolls running around Hackensack, just like killing people?
Man, that would be...
It is something that I would love to see.
Yeah, or, you know, maybe even season 2 is like when they have to deal with multiple Chuckies at the same time.
World War Chucky.
Yeah. And I don't know, but I'm already kind of hyped for season 2.
Like, it would make an amazing fan fiction as well. Like, I'd read the shit out of that. Just
yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to bring up about the episode? Because we're kind of, I think we're kind of getting to the end here.
Oh, yes. My favorite scene of the entire episode, when Devin pulls out that taser. You know?
Oh, yes, that's a beautiful moment.
Oh, he just tases that Chucky, and he just goes flying down the hallway.
You know, it's funny because everybody makes that joke, like, if Chucky's coming after you, just, like, kick him.
Yeah.
But, like, he's tenacious. He's gonna get you. And just that scene with him getting yeeted by that taser, just...
And it was also just, like, I mean, it's kind of a tense scene. And then you just have him just, like, fly off down the hall. It's like, I had to pause it. I was laughing so hard.
And it's great that, like, the show can do that. It can give you these, like, terribly tense, fucked up moments, and then have a moment where, like, Chucky gets, like, bonked on a... Like, whenever someone picks up the doll, like, you know the doll's just done something fucked up, and then someone, like, goes around a corner and the doll's head hits the corner.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, like, Charles Lee Ray is just, like, swearing under his breath.
Yeah.
just little bits like that. Every time, like, Chucky goes in a trash can, I'm always, like, really... I always find that, like, super funny.
Yeah. And also, geez, are they really going to take Home Security Guide from Joe Don Baker?
Yes, fucking Mitchell.
Yeah.
It's just Mitchell giving him home security advice.
Yeah, it's like, I don't remember that part of Cape Fear, but it has been a while since I've seen it, so Maybe,
Yeah, no, it was in the movie, but just
yeah.
Mystery Science Theater has ruined Joe Don Baker for me forever.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah, just Mitchell.
and
Watch.
and you know what? That wasn't even my introduction to Joe Don Baker
What
because
was your introduction?
Mars Attacks.
I think the first time I really like understood who Joe Don Baker was Congo.
Yeah, that's another good one.
And that was also the one that, like, when I was a kid, it was like, oh shit, it's Bruce Campbell. Oh, and it's Ernie Hudson. Yeah, no, Congo's great. We should do a podcast about Congo.
Dude, I am there. I would.
Amy want green drop drink. Ugly monkey, go away.
Yes. Whenever you are ready to record a podcast about Congo,
why are you eating my sesame cake? Oh shit. Okay. I'm sorry. I think I need to watch Congo tonight.
I think I need to too.
We'll call our podcast "Going Bananas" a Congo podcast.
Yes. You know what? We should just have a special. Oh, hold on a second. I really hate that I'm having a hard time remembering people's names at the moment. But we should totally have. Here it is. Just an entire series of podcasts about Tim Curry movies.
Yes. That would be great. We can call ourselves Curry Fiends. But yeah, so as far as like the episodes of the show rank, how would you rank this one?
Oh, this is easily top 2 for me.
Yeah, I think this would probably be my number 1 right now.
Yeah.
Just fires on all fucking cylinders. So good.
Yeah, and all the episodes have been good, but they haven't really got me excited to see the next one like this one has.
Yeah, excellent episode. I think we're going to be very pleased by the next 2 episodes based on the track record so far. Because like my least favorite episode was episode 5, and that was fine.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like it was a bad episode. It was just kind of like it had this kind of weird like, okay, so clearly we're at a breaking point here. We're waiting for the next act to kick in, and that was like literally my only issue with it.
Yeah, and stuff like that, especially in TV shows, can be pretty easily forgiven because you can't have every episode be super spectacular and stellar for every person. You know,
yeah,
you got to have those. Relatively speaking, quiet moments in order to build stuff, build the characters up, build the plot up. That way, when you have explosive big episodes like this one, and finales and stuff like that, and it just makes it all the more satisfying.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think that kind of covers Cape Queer. I'm glad we were able to get to the bottom of the title.
Yeah, it was a huge mystery.
Yeah, so I know you don't really have a whole lot to plug right now, but how about you plug your Twitter account? How does that sound?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at PiousKnob, PIOUSKNOB. Normally I would go with Poinko because that's like the name that I use, but somebody already has it, so
Right.
But
those jerks, you know what I mean? Don't you wish you could just like say, "Hey, no, give me that. Give me that."
Yeah, you're not using it. Like seriously, whoever has it hasn't used it since it was like registered in like 07 or 08 or something like that.
Yeah, right now I'm fighting with a smartphone game and a brony for Cosmic Dash. Like I'm still number 1 on the Google search results, but now I'm also fighting with a smartphone game and someone who has like their brony or their pony Sona. So it's been interesting. Like I'm thankfully I'm still number 1 because I was there first, but I do want to go ahead and plug that other podcast I'm on. It's supernaturalselectionpod.com. The latest episode is The History of Assholes from Beyond. We're also going to start doing some special content for Patreon, which is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, it's a great. If you want to hear me talk about like weird paranormal shit, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a broader subject than what we're doing here, but I definitely advise everybody take a listen to it. You can find it on Spotify or wherever you listen to your goddamn podcasts. So yeah, I guess that would be it for this episode of Kids' Stuff. Please go ahead, and if you like it, go ahead and spread the link around. We also have been kind of like trading shout-outs back and forth with Chucky Vision, which has been a very, very fun podcast. It's a British perspective on Child's Play, which has been super fun.
Ooh.
Definitely worth a listen. I do plan on working with them eventually on something. On that note, I should mention, once we are done with the first season of the show, the podcast is going to be going bi-monthly, because I have some research-heavy episodes. Also, working on a podcast week to week is just, it sucks.
Yeah.
But I am going to be doing bi-weekly, so, and I have some fun episodes planned. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I am probably gonna have you on for one of those because one of them's more like an art perspective.
Ooh,
when it comes to like the design of the character of Chucky.
Yeah. Oh, I want to ask: are you planning on doing one? You may already have. I haven't caught up with the series just yet. But have you? Are you planning on doing one for the reboot Child's Play?
Yeah, I think the guest I'm going to have on for that one is Kevin. But if you want to be up on the reboot one, I'm happy to have a couple guests on that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Sure. I mean, I haven't actually seen it yet, but
it's surprisingly fun.
Yeah, that's what I understand, and I heard that the music is good, and I'm always kind of down for checking out whatever Mark Hamill does a voice in.
Yeah.
So I'll check it out, and I would love to be in on that discussion if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's funny because like originally we were covering like the films, and we only did the first two movies, and then we switched gears to the TV show, which kind of had to do. But I'm looking forward, and you're going to be back for Child's Play 3 for sure.
Yeah, and I've got all of my notes ready for that one too.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. I have a few guests who are kind of like waiting in the wings, and it's like, I'm sorry, it's I can only do like one of these a week. Yeah, I only have the strength for one.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
Yeah, but and I was thinking about this podcast. I'm like, it's gonna be a short form one, but I have enough episodes now beyond the rest of the movies. I think I have like 8 other spin-off episodes planned that are just like different facets of the series overall. So hopefully that'll be enough to get us into season 2, even after like a brief break. But no, I've definitely been enjoying the process, but the week-to-week thing is just brutal.
Yeah.
But, I guess that is it for this week. Phil, thank you so much for being on, especially on like short notice, especially because I was not feeling well yesterday.
Yeah, that booster's a son of a bitch, ain't it?
Yeah, no, and like it was so weird because the first the first 2 shots, because I got the Moderna vaccine, didn't really do anything to me. I was like, okay, it's fine, but like that booster just fucking kicked me in my balls.
Yeah, I did I can't remember if I took the 2-shot Moderna too, but I got the first shot and I was fine. And then I got the second one, and I was fine all of that day, and I didn't really start to feel sick until like after one the following day, which was weird. It's like I had to leave work early because I could barely sit up, but I was.
Well, it's important that we do these things, though.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But again, thank you for like being able to like be with me today because we were going to record yesterday. I'm just like, I do not feel well. So,
no, yeah. If you don't feel well, you should absolutely take a break.
Yeah, because it would be just me breathing heavier than normal. Just how about that Chucky episode?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Phil, again, thank you so much. Everybody follow him on Twitter at PiousKnob, which is a fantastic name, by the way.
Thank you. It is an anagram of my own name.
Ooh. And with that being said, I think we are done for this week. We will see you next week with episode 7 of... So, thank you for listening, and take care.
Bye!
You have been listening to Kids' Stuff, a Chucky podcast, a HauntedMTL original podcast. Our theme is Pop Goes the Weasel by Kevin MacLeod. You can find more of Kevin MacLeod's music at incompetech.filmmusic.io. If you want to find out more about me, the podcaster, you can just go to hpkomics.com, hpcomics.com, or you can find me on the socials at hpkomic. For more great horror content, do not forget to visit HauntedMTL.com.